Hi, my name is Wyman, and this is my digital book bag. As you can tell, I was a young kid who loved to read and write. If you didn't read The Hunger Games, you should probably stop listening to this right now and read it. I always sometimes just start whistling. I love the action, how action packed it is, and sacrifice and selflessness. It inspired me to be more selfless. It was just an amazing thing. Katniss Everdeen is the god. Of Mice and Men was a great book, and it taught me that it was okay to make mistakes, as long as you didn't make them twice. And you have to do what you have to do to move on. I mean, I don't think shooting people in the head was the best way to do it, but I learned, even though people didn't agree with the idea, you gotta stand alone and get rid of your mistakes. You have to do what you have to do, and let go of that part of you that's holding you back. To Kill a Mockingbird is one of my favorite books of all time. I really read it last year. I was always nervous about Brew Radley's house because I have that one creepy house on my street that I would always avoid on Halloween, when I'm just walking from home from school, anything. And my friends would have competitions to see who could stay on the porch of that creepy house the longest. I plan on doing that again sometime. And I love the book because it taught me that sometimes you have to do what you think is right, and you have to try and stand up for the people that can't stand up for themselves. The first Percy Jackson book, The Lightning Thief, had to be the longest book I have ever read. Percy Jackson was a book I had to read twice because the first time I didn't actually read it, but the second time I finished it. I was always that kind of kid that did things and didn't think about them. I did things without thinking about what was the punishment or how stupid it was. And this book inspired me to be more open to new adventures and not to be afraid of the change that occurs in your life. I wasn't much of a poetry kind of guy until I read this book. The battle between the Montagues and the Capulets was dope, and it actually inspired me to disobey my parents for a while. And now I put what I need before what my parents need, because sometimes they don't see as clearly as I do what I need, and sometimes they need to understand that I am my own person. And that's what this book is really all about, putting yourself before something that is bigger than you. Sometimes you just need to stand for yourself and stand up for what you believe in, even though it's not really what everyone around you wants. Outsiders, I read 3 years ago, and it's an amazing book. And the whole kind of them against the world and society ideal kind of resonated with me. I think it played a part in my personality for a long time. I loved the idea of staying gold and true to yourself and being who you are. I always stayed true to who I am, and I always felt like that book always took a place as a reminder of who I truly was. This is a book that I based something I always wanted until I got to high school: freedom. I saw how these kids had to survive on their own. I love the fact that these children can struggle but find their own way without any guidance from some overseeker that answers everything with "because I told you so." I didn't always have an idea of what freedom was like because my mom always made sure that I was in the house, or she was always watching me. But although it's not exact and a really good path to take, and it didn't really do well to these kids' brains, but they had something within them that kept them together and kept them close, and that gave them freedom. Catcher in the Rye is a book that I feel like I can see myself in, because Holden, the main character, is a troublemaker trying to make amends in his life, but needs an out and a break and emotionally a way so he can escape from it all. I could use a break from it all, but then again, I love where I am right now. This school helped me become something that I never thought I was going to be, something stronger than myself. And I love where Holden got the strength and individuality to come back from where he never thought he could. And my sense of redemption comes from something way too late, and it comes to a different conclusion. I loved The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. And it had the same theme as The Catcher in the Rye, where a kid who had to figure himself out entirely. I also see myself in this situation because sometimes I feel lost and I always have to figure myself out sometimes. But I am working on finding myself. In these books, I look back to just as something to think, just as something to believe in, and almost like it has all the answers. This was my digital book bag. I hope you enjoyed it, and bless up.